I think the Kenyan public deserves a simple explanation as to where this country is, because the subject that we're talking about is the state of the nation. And you cannot have as a discourse stumbling from one failure to another with enthusiasm and say that you're a success. I mean, it's not acceptable. When you look at the state of the economy from, if you look at the US dollar, if you look at the GNP, if you look at the gross domestic product, if you look at all the structures that calibrate the economy from healthcare to the private market, every single Kenyan in this country is under a huge shadow of angst. Because we do know that there is no circulation of money. One of the major indicators of a healthy economy is the circulation of money. The second indicator of a healthy economy is investor confidence, where an investor believes that in country A, B, or C, you can do A, B, C, D. Everybody's fleeing to Tanzania. Everybody's going to Tanzania. People are going to other countries and they're leaving Kenya. When you talk about the social security institutions like healthcare, education, and social welfare, there's nothing to write home about in those issues. These are the structures. We want to talk about facts, not about theory. And when it comes to foreign affairs, presidents are refusing to greet our presidents, shake his hand. The latest one being the DRC. The latest one. And on the index of corruption, he came second to Bashar al-Assad. I mean, when the deputy president stands over there...
What's the source of that data?
The data comes from an anti-corruption organization.
How credible is that?
It was widely, let me say, let me explain. It was widely published in on Twitter and Facebook and in the newspapers. I'll remember the name in just 1 second. And there was about 100 presidents who were put to task, and people around the world and in their countries voted and asked to see who was the sentiment, who was the most corrupt. I will get it in a minute. And Mr. Ruto came in second. It's a very popular account.
Social media propaganda.
No, it's not social media propaganda.
I want the source.
Yeah, I'll get you the source in a minute.
We have to be factual.
Yes, yes. So we'll get you the source in 1 second. Then lastly, Ayub, I want to put it to you that if the country, the state of the nation, is been a rebellion by the 80% of the population of this country that's under the age of 25, who are called the Gen Z, who stole the maize and took it to pipeline. It was for the president to come and say, please, no, it's a fact. It's not me. It's on there. You can counter-check that one. The guy who had the maize was arrested. So the thing about it is that we have to then say that what was the responsibility of the president? The president should have said, look, I am going to call for an emergency meeting. I'm going to call the political parties. We are going to sit down. We're going to build a government of national unity and go into an election in 6 months to a year. Any decent country where something like this had happened in Kenya, in any other country, the government would have fallen. It would have resigned. Governments resign over failing to go to Parliament in London for being late in Parliament for 15 minutes. People resign. When the whole country says we don't want you, it is your responsibility to create a process so that we can have the will of the people, to know what the will of the people is. And that is the state of the nation. We have never been through... I was in 2007 and 2008 with Manzo here, before the violence that happened. Ayub, this country is on the same path. The tribal rhetoric you could see even from the opposition, Mr. Gachgua. You could see the stuff that he was talking about. You can see the trip to Western, where the president stood in front of a car and just went crazy over his former DP. This kind of language is what landed us in trouble. And Manzo is here with me in 2007 and 2008. It landed us into all this. This young man was probably in high school then. He cannot say that muwe gala lakini upe haki yake. It's actually in Kisomali. It's a Somali saying which says gal ka dil lakin garti sasi. So the fact is that Mr. Ruto is in deep trouble. He has led this country astray. The incompetency of his cabinet is clear to see. He appointed Ms. Juma as the chairman of the Roads Commission. And the engineers in this country are
Kenya
up in
Roads
arms.
Board.
Kenya Roads Board. The engineers in this country are up in arms and saying, what is she going to give value to that institution? This is a disaster.
Yes, Senator.
Alonzo was an alternative to this country. There's many people who believe that he could win an election. But once he goes into this conglomeration of tribal matatus, then the Gen Zs are going to see him as part of the problem and not part of the solution.
Yes, Senator.